Everyone, good evening. Your cameras are on. All right, let's see who we have here. We have Francielli, we got David, Miguel, Yvette, Vanessa, Yurka, have Stephanie M running away and coming back. We have Fabiola, Bianca, Erica, Jeff, Elena, and Muslima, and Alondra somewhere. All right. Cool. If there's anybody watching on YouTube, also let me know that you're there. If you have any questions, you'd like the questions addressed, just type them in the chat. Okay. All right, guys, make sure you have your cameras on. Very, very important. So it counts for your hours. Stephanie, you got replaced. Oh no, okay, there you go. Somebody else just joined. All right, cool. Gotcha, no problem, Miguel. Erica, 605, I have a parents teacher. Okay. I have parent students. You gotta put the whole sentence together. Like, anyway. So, what was I gonna say? If you guys have any questions, drop them now. One of the things that I've noticed, some of you are taking the test, and definitely that's a good thing, as I mentioned yesterday. The only thing that you guys are missing, those that are testing, those that are not testing, you're missing a lot. Those that are testing already, the only thing that you guys are missing is asking me questions. So whether you pass or fail the practice test, I want you to go over, because you receive an email automatically, just like I do. I receive whatever you receive, I receive. So I know your score, I know what you missed, I know what you aced, whatever. But what I want you to do is send me messages and say, Bruno, I reviewed, I do not understand why on question, whatever, from my test, why is it A and not B? Okay? So I mentioned this yesterday, I'm mentioning it again. The more you test, the better it is with the practice tests. But if you don't ask questions, there's going to be a problem there, because you're always going to be wondering, especially those of you that have, you know, a lower score, not a low score, but a lower score, like close to a passing rate, or some, even if it's just a passing rate, ask questions. All right, very, very important. Okay, that's the only way that you guys are going to move forward, is by understanding what the mistake was. So the first thing, try to recognize what the mistake was. If you still can't, then send me a message. All right, I'm accessible, you guys know that. So whatever time, send me messages. Yesterday I was until almost 3 o'clock in the morning with a couple of students, going back and forth on messages. So I'm accessible. All right, make sure you ask questions. Very, very important. Muslim, are you talking to me? No. Not talking to you, talking to all of you. All right. So, and you can send me messages at whatever time, even if I don't answer right away, you know, because sometimes I do sleep. So even if I don't answer right away, just send a message on WhatsApp. It's going to stay there, and I'll address it eventually. Okay. If it's something that's urgent, that for you to progress, you need to know what the answer is for whatever reason, send me a bunch of messages. Okay. So no, I'm not addressing somebody specific, because there's 4 people here that have taken the test so far, and I'm addressing those 4 people. Those that have not, please test as many times as you can. Very, very important. Okay, I know it's boring to be there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I know, but it's way better than going to the school or state test and not being prepared for it, right? So you suffer a little bit now, and then you get the rewards later. Okay. All right, so let's see, we got Lucy listening. Hey, Lucy, what's up? All right, so today's the last day of the core chapter. So the last day ends with other New Jersey law practices, laws and practices, and we're gonna, depending on the time, we're gonna start math or even potentially do the whole math chapter, and then tomorrow again will depend on how today goes. But yes, I'm still trying to get away from it. But we've been doing reviews. I think it's been very helpful for most of you. And you know, let's try to. Here's the thing: if you guys don't ask questions, it makes it also difficult for me to create reviews. All right, and I stopped doing actual reviews. I stopped doing it when about 2 years ago. I stopped doing actual reviews, which would be PowerPoints, me going over a bunch of stuff. I stopped doing that because reviews were more like me spitting a bunch of information, right? That's pretty much what I do already, right? And I don't want that. We need to have that interaction. So the spin-off that I did when there was time for the classes to get to that point, the spin-off that I did for reviews was testing. So we would do the test like we did in the beginning. We had one day that we practiced in a few questions, right? But it's just so you guys see how the questions are in the exam and what you should do, not do, right? I have those. Everything is recorded on the YouTube channel, so you have a bunch of ideas there of how the questions are, how you need to look at certain things within the exam. And again, depending on how today goes, we will probably do some of those tomorrow as well. All right. So again, questions. These are key, and I am here for you, not just for money. Okay, because the money is easy. I could have just taken your money and then read the book, right? That's not what I want. Okay, so I give you the best that I can for your money, even include some jokes, good or bad, but I include some jokes so you get for a full round entertainment, reading, right, and jokes. Miguel was laughing, so that was good. David smiled, that was okay, and some smirks. Okay, so some people kind of like the jokes, or not, I don't know. Doesn't matter. At least you get full entertainment. Now, moving forward, other New Jersey laws and practices. We're gonna go over all this again, but again, specific to New Jersey. The majority of it is in these next 16 pages. The majority of it is stuff that you already know, so we can use it as review. And then I'm going to pinpoint a few things about ownership and conveyance, which is the transfer of the ownership that's specific to New Jersey. We're going to talk about New Jersey land use and development. So a few of the things that are specific within certain municipalities in New Jersey. We're going to talk about finance and taxation, how the taxes, real estate taxes happen here in New Jersey, or certain details of them here in New Jersey. As far as the timeshares, there's not many questions in New Jersey about timeshares, but I'll still go over it. And manufactured housing, just a few things, okay? Erica, I know you have reviewed this a few times, but I still got confused on the question about ticks and JTs. Okay, well, here's the good news. We're going to go over some of that. The bad news is it's going to come. I don't know how I'm going to feel about explaining it today. That's the only bad news. All right, next. So let's talk about ownership. You guys remember this? There's two words right here: dower and courtesy. All right, do me a favor. Can anybody just let me know if YouTube is running? Because I just got an error here on the streaming computer. Can somebody just let me know? If you're watching on YouTube, let me know that you're there. Or, guys, here on Zoom, guys and gals, if somebody can test it out for me. I just want to make sure that it's running because an error just popped up. It's running? Oh, Muslima's on both? You don't get double the hours, I'm just saying. I like to get more hours. Okay, but if it's running, it's cool. All right. Thank you. All right, so let's go back to this. Dower and courtesy. Awesome. Dower and courtesy. If you guys remember these words, dower and courtesy, we were talking about when a husband dies or when a wife dies, the surviving spouse, right? Today it would be spouse and spouse, but the surviving spouse receives the 50% share that was owned by the deceased spouse. So the way it runs when somebody is married is that everything is supposed to be 50-50. Whatever you own, I own. Whatever I own, you own. So that was dower and courtesy. When you die, I become, yes, you would die first, just letting you know. So when you die, I become 100% owner because I acquire your 50. Okay? That's dower and courtesy. Now, dower is for the wife. So if the husband dies, the wife receives it, and that right is called dower. Courtesy is for the husband. If the wife dies first, it's a courtesy to us because usually, we die first. So it's a matter of courtesy. We received it. Okay, so dower and courtesy. And yes, I'm joking because courtesy is spelled differently. It is a joke. Okay. Even though, even for insurance purposes, they always give women a lifespan of at least 3 years longer than the men, but dower and courtesy, husband and wife. Now, the thing is, in 1980, May 28, 1980, New Jersey said, well, the 50-50 thing is a good thing, but if the wife never contributed to a particular building or the husband never contributed to a particular property, why should they be 100% entitled to the property at the time of death? So one of the things that they created in 1980, first of all, was the abolishment. So they destroyed completely the dower and courtesy. So it doesn't exist anymore. But they created what's called joint tenancy for the husband and wife. Today we know it as tenancy by the entirety. Okay? But of which property? Which property do I acquire that's yours as well? Which property do you acquire that's mine as well? We're talking about the primary home, the house where we live. Okay? So this only applies to the main residence. Okay? So if it's a property that I own by myself, you know what? I bought it, paid for it, I sell it, it's my money, not yours, right? So if I die, it goes to my heirs, doesn't go to you. Okay? So I can put that in the will. But I'll talk about wills also later. There's a little clause that goes in the will. If it's a property you own by yourself, then you get it. Simple as that. But if it's our main marital residence, it's where we live, it does not matter if it was before May 28, 1980 or after May 28, 1980. You don't need to know the May 28, you need to know May 1980. Before you needed to know May 28, 1980. Not anymore. But what you need to know is this. If it's before the rights were abolished or after the rights were abolished, it does not matter. If it's our main marital residence, that means where we live as husband and wife or spouse and spouse, right? It's 50-50 regardless of who owns it. Okay, regardless of who owns it. If it was before May 28, 1980, it was 50-50 period. So therefore, even if I owned it by myself, you still needed to sign it. If you owned it by yourself, I still needed to sign on it. Does that make sense? After May 28, 1980, in New Jersey, now you sign for what's yours, I sign for what's mine, unless it's the main marital residence. So they created what's called joint possession or joint tenancy for the marriage. Whatever we acquired together is ours. Whatever is related to our main marital residence, it's still ours. Okay, everything else, not needed. Now, why do we need to know this stuff, guys? Why do we need to know? Because we need to know who must sign. We need to know, when did you acquire the property? Oh, it was 1979? Okay, cool. So, are you married? Great. Is it the same wife? No offense, we're in New Jersey, so it's the divorce state now. So is it the same wife as it was back then? Because if it is, then your spouse may need to sign on that document. Okay? What about my second property that I bought in 1995? Well, is it just under your name? You might not need to sign anything. at any point in this conversation, right? So it's very important that pretty much what I'm trying to say is, it's very important that you build a relationship with your clients. It's very important that you understand your clients' wants and needs and their current lifestyle so you can assist them. So think about it when you go to the doctor. There's a lot of questions that the doctor asks you. One of them is, are you currently in a relationship? Like, what does that have to do with my health, right? And then there's subsequent questions that come, right? Which I'm not going to bring in now, but there's other questions that come with it that might lead to your current health status based on whatever the doctor's trying to diagnose you, right? So the idea here is the same. I'm like your doctor. I need to know you as a person, you as the homeowner, and you as a potential buyer somewhere else. Like, you're going to move. So let's figure these things out. Now that I know that you're married, are you the only person on this property on title? Like, are you the only person that owns it? Great. Was it acquired before May 28, 1980, or just before 1980, or it was after? Right? These are qualifying questions to know who must sign or not. Now, ultimately, we are not law practitioners. We are not attorneys. So ultimately, what must we do? Recommend that they consult an attorney. Very important. So again, why do we need to know this stuff? To know who must sign or not. Okay? Regardless, always recommend for them to talk to attorneys. Next, condominium establishment. So if you guys remember, under ownership, condos and co-ops are forms of ownership, right? In one of them, you own your own individual unit. In the other, you own stock in the building. So in the company that owns the building, I'm sorry, right? How do we establish condos? In the state of New Jersey, you have to apply, if you want to establish a condo, you have to apply for those permits through the, regulated by the Horizontal Property Act and the Condominium Act. That one's easy. To create a condominium, the property owner must record a declaration or master deed, so for the whole thing, right? And then each individual units. A master deed in the county where the condo is located. Further, a property must include the privately owned units and a percentage of ownership of the property's common areas. So what we're saying is, in that master deed, right there, master deed, all these things are going to be determined of what belongs to the community and what is to each individual unit. And then we sell each individual unit with its own deed with a reference to the master deed. Okay, so hey, you're buying this unit, but check out the master deed, which says the name of the condominium, description of the whole property, and obviously yours is on your deed. There's a land survey, another graphic description of the improvements, so whatever was added to it, including the common elements, the location and dimension of the units, each unit's letter or number. This is all in the master deed. Again, a proportional undivided interest in the common elements and description, how we're going to share the common expenses, name of the receiver of process, meaning if somebody sues, who must they sue first? Well, they address the HOA administration. The bylaws, and the bylaws are the rules and regulations, including the CC&Rs, if you guys remember. CC&Rs, which is covenants, conditions, and restrictions of that particular community, pretty much says, hey, can you paint the exterior of your unit? Maybe, maybe not. Can you park this type of car or in front of your units? Maybe not. Can you landscape differently? Maybe not. So maybe the exterior features, the exterior features must be the same across the board. So the CC&Rs included in the bylaws stipulate what you can and cannot do with your property, at least on the exterior, okay? And also must include a method of amending the bylaws. So usually what it says as far as amending the bylaws is if 2/3, or if we have a moratorium of the homeowners, meaning the majority agrees, we'll change this in the General Assembly, right? We will agree to this. Then that's what the method is. Like, everybody's in agreement, either by being there in presence or through a proxy, which is like the absentee ballot type of thing. So it's a proxy. Like you're saying, yeah, I'm not there, but this is my vote on these issues. That's what it is. Okay. Yvette, does the master deed get updated each time a new resident moves in? No. That's why it's called master deed. What the master deed shows is, okay, this is the area, and there's a bunch of properties here. This is the condominium, bunch of properties. Here's like the pool. Here's the park, whatever, the gates for you to get in and get out. So it describes the lot, the big lot, and then each individual unit, it's unit 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Every time there's a new resident, they're going to add to the master file of the HOA, not the deed, because these are individual deeds. So the HOA must know who the current owner is, because now there's dues that the new owner must pay on unit 1. Does that make sense? But the master deed is set. It just shows that the HOA or the group of owners own that piece of land. That's all. Okay? And with the ownership, they created these things. So what is shared? The pool, the park, right? This way right here where they go through, the street, whatever you want to call it, right? So these things are common and must be maintained. There must be insurance. There must be maintenance to it. There must be cleaning. All that is defined in the master deed. Can the master deed be amended as far as bylaws? Right? Yes. Will it change every time there's a new resident? No. Okay. So, but it does have the method of which the HOA must maintain records of the owners and how the fees are to be charged. So that will be there. Okay, that's the only thing. Okay. Robin, can you please repeat who sets forth the master deed? So usually the developer is the one that creates the master deed, because when I figured out that this is the unit I want to build, like this is the general plan of what I want to build, I envisioned something, right? So I applied for that permit to to create a condo, and these are the rules that I envisioned to maintain or preserve the aspect or the well-being of this particular community. So I'm like a mini city hall determining what the community is going to do. And then I passed it along. I'm the mayor when I developed it, and then I passed it along to the HOA, which is now the administration of this mini city hall. Got it? So it's like a city within a city. Okay? And a lot of them very, very mismanaged, like really bad. A lot of them. A few years ago, my partner at the time and I were trying to take over the management of a particular HOA. And after we saw it, we're like, ooh, people are going to hate us, because for us to be able to take over this and make it nice, it's going to have to increase the HOA costs by X amount of dollars. And as soon as we went to a general assembly and we proposed it, so we had to create special assemblies after that. So the general one, where the current HOA was proposing that our property management would take over, and then 2 special assemblies to follow up to the proposals that we created for this particular project, right? And as soon as we started talking about raising the fees, people go crazy. Yet they didn't have insurance for the park where the kids play. Okay? The gates that's supposed to be closed gates, right? The automated gates were not automated, not even manual. They wouldn't even close. That's how bad it was, right? The cameras, the CCTV, which was a security for the community, most of them were not working. The whole system needed an upgrade. But no, please don't raise our fees, right? So you want the benefits, we don't want to pay for it. And until today, those gates do not close. And it's been, I think 8 years, 7-8 years. Those gates still do not close. I doubt there's insurance in the playground where the kids go play. So if one of the kid slips, falls, hurts himself, yeah, crazy, right? HOA is homeowners association, yes, to which all the homeowners belong. All right, next. Condo conversion. Condo conversion. This is, for instance, I have a 100-unit apartment building, but I'm tired of being a landlord. Okay, I'm tired of being a landlord, and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to sell the building. Now, as you know, when you sell something in bulk, usually it's cheaper, right? So I want to maximize my return on my money. What I'm going to do is, instead of selling the whole building, right? Instead of selling the whole building, I'm going to convert each unit. Right? I'm going to convert each unit into its own. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. I'm going to convert each unit into its own condo, right? So I can sell for more. Instead of selling in bulk, where I could make $10 million, I do this conversion, which, let's say, it's going to cost me $250,000, but I'm going to be able to sell for $12 million, right? So I immediately made 1.75 just because of this small improvement. Does that make sense? Or the separation of utilities. So I make more money. For me to be able to do this, the condo conversion versus the whole block, the whole building as a landlord, I need to apply to the state to get it approved. Sorry. There's one thing missing. Okay, so I need to apply to the state to be approved. Now I need to have give a notice to every single tenant that I'm going to do it, and it's a 3-year notice to quit or vacate. So I apply for the conversion, but it can only happen 3 years from now. In fact, it's not 3 years. It's 3 years and 2 months. So it's 3 years and 2 months. 3 years and 2 months. Okay? That's the application to the state, and then I have to send each tenant notice to quit 3 years from now. So just letting you know, you've been a tenant here for so long, but 3 years from now you gotta go. Like that's the most that you can stay here, or you have the option to purchase your own unit. Right? Simple. Now here's the thing. Some people cannot get kicked out. In New Jersey, senior citizens are protected, and people with disability. They cannot be forced out of the building. They cannot be forced out of the building if their income is lower than 3 times their county per capita income, or no more than $50,000, whichever is higher. Okay? Now, if they must have lived there for at least 2 years, right? So 1 year with at least longer than, at least for 1 year with at least longer than 1 year. So we're talking about 2 years in total. And you got to be at least 62 or older. So those people that are 62 or older live there for at least, again, 2 years. So you've been there for 1 year and you have at least longer than another year, right? No more than 50,000, they're entitled to stay. Disabled people may not be forced to move either, okay? They meet the same income standard, if they meet the same income standards, length of the lease, and number of units as those that are 62 or older. They're unable to work because of their disability, or they are veterans with a 60% or more service-related disability. So these people are protected. Condo conversions, you cannot kick out people that are 62 or older or disabled, live there for at least 2 years, right, or have a 2-year lease. They don't make more than $50,000. Remember that. If they meet these qualifications, they're entitled to stay there for up to 40 years. So I'm going to convert 3 years from now, but I must allow you to stay for up to 40 years. That's what it says. So again, it's to protect senior citizens. All right, next. Deeds. So we did talk about this in chapter 6, what makes a deed valid, right? The grantor. One of the things that's specific to New Jersey, if you guys remember, when we talked about it in chapter 6, is anybody, as long as they're of sound mind, right? They could be, in most states, they can enter into a sale, right? Or a transfer of ownership. Here in New Jersey, you must be at least 18 years old. So it's not just sound mind. You must be a legal adult in order to be able to sell the property. If you're underage, you cannot sell the property, right? If this does not meet the requirements, then this contract could be voidable. Robin, the rent can be increased subject to the current cost of living or whatever the restrictions are. So going back to the condo conversion, whatever the restrictions are in that particular town, can it be increased? Yes. Again, subject to those restrictions. Okay. Remember, there's no rent control rules in New Jersey, only in certain municipalities. But you need to know that senior citizens and people with certain disabilities are protected when it comes to certain increases. Okay, so even if your town does not have rent control, right, they can take you to court and say, hey, no, that's not reasonable. That was an excessive increase. And usually somebody that's 62 or older or somebody with a disability will win the case. Okay, I already told you that New Jersey is very pro-tenant in a lot of stuff. Okay. Next, so there might be a question in the state exam about somebody that's 15 years old and, you know, just gets the property, inherits the property, and then decides to sell the property. They get into a contract. There might be the question. I'm not saying there will be. Okay. So, and then the question is pretty much, is this a valid contract or is it a voidable contract, right? It's between those. Remember, a contract is valid. Like we said right now, this is valid, right? But if the minor decides to back out of the deal, can the buyer sue the minor, the seller? Can the buyer sue? The answer is no, because a court may deem it voidable. They were not of legal age. They could enter into the agreement, but they might decide to rescind that agreement. So it's a voidable contract. Okay, so it's valid or appears to be valid, but it's something that could be disaffirmed or voided. Still under deeds, we're going to talk about acknowledgement. And if you guys remember, acknowledgement is when an official recognizes, so a state official recognizes your signature, recognizes that you are who you say you are, right? So New Jersey does not specifically, and I mentioned to you guys when we were going over this, New Jersey does not specifically require that deeds, mortgages, and other similar documents are acknowledged. So there's no requirement to acknowledge them. But New Jersey does require that if you want to record them into public records, now they must be acknowledged. Now they must be notarized. All right? So for the transaction to happen, there's no need to notarize. But for you to grab that piece of paper and take it to the county court and, county records and record it, it must be notarized or acknowledged. All right? To me, it doesn't make sense. But that's the way law is. So you don't need it, but if you want to record it, you need it. But then later on, if you want to do a refinance, the mortgage company is going to be like, you are not the owner of records. So who are you? Right? So in fact, you needed it to strengthen your position, to say, hey, here's the flag, I was here, right? So there's no requirement. Yvette, don't they all need to be recorded? No, that's what I'm telling you. No. Yvette and Robin, what makes a deed valid is delivery and acceptance. I have a piece of paper, I'm going to give it to you. The moment you accept it, the moment you take it, this becomes a valid transfer, a valid deed. Okay, so you are the new owner of this property. Congratulations. Did we notarize? No. Did we acknowledge? No. Did you record? Not yet. The problem is now you have this paper in your hand and you're like, it's been 2 months. Value of the house went up. Interest rate was crazy. Now they're really low. Let me go refinance. And you go with this. And almost any mortgage company is going to pull a title search and say, well, Robin, Yvette, Bruno's the owner, not you. So who are you in this? Oh, but I have a paper here from Bruno that says he transferred to me. Some of them will say, okay, that is valid. Some of them will say, if it's not recorded, it's not a proper evidence of title. Therefore, we're not refinancing. Make sure you put this in record, right? And then here you go with a piece of paper. You're going to go to County Hall and say, County Records, and you say, hey, could you please record this? What are they going to request? We'll record this as soon as the seller acknowledges that they transferred to you. So now, at this point, it's been 6 months, it's been 1 year, it's been 10 years. And here you go trying to find me and say, hey, Bruno, it was difficult to find you, but I found you. I need to notarize this document from way back when. You understand what I'm saying? Do they need to be recorded? No. But if you want to record it, then it must be acknowledged. It must be notarized. Okay? So do they need to be recorded? No. Do they need to be notarized? No. But if you want to record, then it also must be notarized. That's what we're saying. It's one of New Jersey's crazy laws. Like, yeah, notarize it later. Oh, but I don't know where the seller is. Well, that's your problem, not mine. That's how they'll take it. And you can always go to court. You can always go to court and request the judge to allow that deed to be recorded now as if it was then, right? So more costs in your pocket, to your pocket. All right, Yvette, so if as a homeowner I did not record my own deed, chances are it's not recorded? No. So did you have, Yvette, did you have a title company during the transaction? Then most likely they recorded. But if not, were there attorneys present? If there was attorneys present, then most likely one of them would record it, right? So there you go. And they would give you instructions. Hey, we don't record. That's up to you. Go to City Hall and or county records and record there. So yours should be recorded. Is it possible that it's not? A few years ago, I had a case like this. We became friends after that, but a client of mine years ago comes up to me and says, hey, things are difficult. I'm not paying my mortgage. I need to negotiate like a loan modification or a short sale, like whatever. I'm just tired of where I'm at right now. So this is back in 2010, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the things that we did at the time that was very important for what we were doing was a title search, right? And a QWR, which is a qualified win request, and we send that to the lender. So the lender now needs to prove to us or show us all the records in the particular transaction, and we match those records to whatever's on the county, right? So guess what? Lender took forever to give us those records, and title search came back as, you are not, so this is like in the Maury voice, you are not the owner. You are not the owner of records. So, if you guys don't know who Maury is, Maury Popovich, when you go to doctors and all that stuff, that's the thing that's always on TV. It's like those crazy shows when they say you are not the father and stuff like that, and they throw chairs around all for fun, right? A lot of acting involved, but very popular in doctors' offices for some reason. Somebody recently asked me, which doctors do you go to? Like, well, when I used to go to certain doctors, they were there. I don't know. I guess that was entertainment. Wheel of Fortune was like gone. Like it was not like the best thing to present. Anyway, so the point was he was not the owner of record. So our negotiating position was totally different because the previous owner was still the owner of record. The bank never recorded, or the title company never recorded, the deed nor the mortgage. So technically, it only existed on his credit. So if it only existed on his credit, all he needed to do is bankruptcy, and boom, mortgage gone. You guys understand? If it's not on record, it's very difficult for you to prove that that's you that owns it or that somebody has a claim against it, right? So bottom line, do you have to record it? No. But if you do want to record it, must acknowledge. Do you have to acknowledge it? No. But again, if you do want to record it, must have it acknowledged. That's pretty much what we need to remember about New Jersey. So Robin is what I said. It could be the title company, it could be the attorney, right? Or it could be you. If neither one of them record, you can go there and say, hey, I'm the owner of record. Life safety features of a property. One of the features that's required in the state of New Jersey, and a lot of states have something similar to this, is the fact that all 1 or 2 family dwellings carry at least one carbon monoxide detector. At least one carbon monoxide detector. Appropriate number of smoke detectors and at least one fire extinguisher. Now here where it says appropriate number of smoke detectors, what they require in the state is 1 smoke detector within 10 feet of every sleeping quarter, just like the carbon monoxide. Every municipality has the right to require more than this. Every municipality has the right to require more than this. Some even require smoke detectors and carbon monoxide with battery backup, meaning if power goes out, that kicks in, right? So in case of fire, you're always protected. Some of them require, like here in Newark, every single room must have a smoke detector. It's hardwired with the battery backup, right? So state says 1 is fine within 10 feet. I think people can wake up if it's within 10 feet, right? And then Newark says, our people here don't wake up. There's so much noise, they don't wake up. So let's put 1 in each room. That's what it is, okay? Transfer tax. So we talked about the realty transfer fee, or as we mentioned in closings, it's the documentary stamp, right? And they charge that to the seller. At the time of sale, they charge a percentage of the sale price that you must pay in connection to the transaction, okay? I wouldn't worry too much about this. In the math chapter, we're going to have an example, but don't worry too much about the fees because every state has their own table for the fees, right? So some of them would be something like this, like, oh, it's not more than $350, so the first the first 150, they're calculated at $2 for every 500. From 150 to 200 is $3.35 per every $500, and so on. The math, very simple. 1,500 divided by 500 times whatever the dollar amount is. All right, so because it's per $500, we need to divide this amount by 500, and you know how many units you have to multiply by the $2. All right? And so on. If you're a senior citizen, disabled person, or low moderate income, there's discounts. If you're in an area that's low moderate, there's discounts. Again, like I said, don't worry too much about it, but there's a table here. If you really want to go over it, there's a table here. They put here the link twice. But there's a table here in this link that shows you exactly how much you have to pay. Even comes with, again, the calculator as well, for you to know exactly how much you have to pay in a particular transaction. Questions? No? Jeff, lately you've just been jumping in and out. Like you don't know where you're going to stay. What's going on there? All right. Next thing. New Jersey land use and development. So one of the things we have is ISRA, because when we're talking about land use regulations, we're talking about Environmental Protection Agency and stuff like that, okay? So ISRA is the Industrial Site Recovery Act. So just remember industrial, okay? Gotta remember industrial. And if it's an industrial property, most likely, right, 99.9999% guaranteed that this property is going to have some type of chemicals in the ground. Why? Because you're industrial, there's manufacturing, there's manufacturer, there's chemicals. Even a bakery has chemicals because they have those machines, right, to process everything. So the machines take oil, the machines take a bunch of different things to run, and there could be leaks into the ground. Hopefully not into your baked goods, but at least into the ground there could be leaks. So what ISRA says is that prior to the closing or transfer of ownership, right, you have to test the soil, right, and make sure that there's no contaminants on the soil. So I'm sorry, in the soil. Okay, so that's the only thing about ISRA that you need to remember if it does pop up. ISRA is industrial, and they will say industrial. Okay. Remember, if it's industrial, there's chemicals. If there's chemicals, they must be cleaned at the time of transfer. Whether it's a sale or lease, must be cleaned, must be tested first. One of the things we have as of 1970, and we mentioned briefly in the chapter where we talked about these things, so right in the first week, in 1970, the Wetlands Act was enacted to pretty much protect our waters, right? As it says, Wetlands Act, protect our waters. What kind of protection are we talking about? Well, if you guys remember, probably from documentaries, probably from the news, if you guys remember, the manufacturing companies were dumping garbage, right, and chemicals into the waters, right? So because of these things, because of the chemicals that would go into the waters, and it could travel into different properties and affect different owners, even drinkable water could be affected by this. They enacted the Wetlands Act of 1970, right, to regulate the placement of the structures, excavation, pesticide application, or other similar activities. Okay? So this is very simple. When you see Wetlands Act of 1970 or Wetlands Act by itself, it's to protect our water from any type of manufacturing facility. So just remember that. You have to have permits in order to produce any type of manufacturing by the water. Now, I don't know if you guys remember what I said yesterday, but I'm going to say it again. These laws, like 1970, right? 1970, how long ago was that? Okay, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that was a long time ago. That was like 50 years ago, right? Here's the thing. 50 years versus 1,970 years is not that much. You understand my point? All these laws are recent as people become more and more aware of the complications of manufacturing, of the complications of chemicals, right? As people become more and more aware of these issues, right, because of the diseases that keep on popping up, more rules are being created. All right, Miguel has a question. Wait, Miguel, you stopped, right? You're not driving, right? I don't know. I see cars moving. I don't know if you're moving. Like, I panic. Every time I look at Miguel and I see that he's typing, I'm like, oh my God. All right. We're going to hear about Miguel on the news. Wait. Crazy guy on his phone texting caused a bunch of accidents. I'm not saying that he got into an accident. He caused the accident. Is that usually how it happens? Like when people swerve because they're on their phone? They're not the ones that get into an accident. They cause everybody else to get into an accident. Just saying. All right. Why do warehouse or distributors make... Huh? Why do warehouse or distributors make man-made lakes near buildings? Man-made? Man-made. Francielli tried to help you out. It wasn't any better. But, but I understood, and I'm good at translating studentese, okay? So students' language. So here's the thing. It depends. So a warehouse or distributors, it depends on what they're manufacturing or what they're distributing. They might have to have some chemical quick release. And if you guys don't know, the way to clean up contaminated land is with water. So what they do when there's land that's contaminated, they just pump a bunch of water until it dilutes. So after it's diluted to a point where it's safe, now you can use the water again. So all those brownfields, right, where industrial were, that's what they're doing. They keep on pumping water into it until it clears. Oh, you meant New Jersey? Gardens all over? Or are you talking about the mall? Like right next to the mall, what they're doing. That's part of it too, yes. But there's so many. There's so many. You guys are going to realize sometimes in the middle of nowhere, there's some type of manufacturing, right? And then there's water around it. So they still need to have some type of water. Sometimes it is the actual process that it takes. Like windmills, right? For instance, why do we need windmills in the middle of nowhere? Not like they're going to produce electricity for that particular area. No, it's going to distribute around, or the process that it takes for whatever the manufacturing needs to use water. I don't know. So there's a lot of different ghetto garbage malls. Oh boy, not that bad. Come on, there's worse. There are worse malls. Okay, ours. I used to go there. So Jersey Guard has just been getting on the news lately because of certain things, but for a very long time there was no issues there. Then all of a sudden there's fake shootings, like 1, 2, 3. It becomes a normal thing, so nobody complains anymore, right? Right? See? Me too, Stephanie. I used to love it there. I just don't go there as much. But I used to love it there. Not that bad. All right, next, another thing that we have, it's not just New Jersey, but we're addressing here, is accretion and reliction, avulsion, and erosion. All right, so we're going to learn crazy names. Ready? Ready? Okay, accretion. Addition, because it's an increase, so you're gaining land. Accretion is an addition of land. So it's an increase of land. How do we get an increase of land? Because the water, the river, the stream, or whatever, is gradually depositing a natural metal called alluvion. So that keeps on bringing it and builds up until there's no water, and you're gaining land as it goes, okay? So that's accretion. It's a natural process where you gain land. It adds land to your property, okay? Reliction, very similar, but it's where you're gaining, like it's where the water surface, the water is being drained and you gain land by the drainage of the water, okay? So here it increases land because it's depositing materials, right? Reliction is the water is going away. So you see more property, okay? Avulsion. Avulsion is a change of stream direction. Okay? So a change of a stream direction, meaning it's going this way and sometimes it recedes, it goes back, right? So that's a sudden change. It could happen, the flow of the water. It has happened also, so the boundary lines will not change if you're a riparian owner, if you guys remember this. The property lines will not change, they're still in the middle, right? But I think I mentioned to you guys that a few years ago, no, not a few, about a year ago, I'm sorry. There's a place in Mexico where the river was right here, and then after a storm, the river became right here. So there was a movement of the river that literally said, I'm not staying in this path, I'm creating a new path, like completely new path. So in that instance, the property lines now changed, right? Because the stream did not change. The whole river moved, okay? And yes, nature has these crazy things where they say, no, you don't deserve this piece of land, I'm going to give it to your neighbor, right? They have these crazy things. And then we have erosion. Erosion is the opposite of accretion. So if accretion is an addition or gain of land, erosion is loss of land. Now, how can you lose land? Winds, for instance. Operations of the water. It could be, let's say, an earthquake, whatever. You start losing, right? Some type of movement in the land. You start losing land. So it goes away. So accretion, you add land. Erosion, you lose land. Reliction is lowering the water. So you see you have more surface, right? And avulsion is the change of the stream. So the movement of the stream or stream direction. Right? We're going to skip all these because we're already talked about it right now. And most of them, yes. The only one that might be man-made is reliction. Most of them is natural. Reliction could be man-made as well. So you're going to look at places like here in Newark, we have Market Street and Ferry Street. Supposedly Market Street never existed, like way back when. Ferry Street, as the name says, is ferry, so it was water. It was to carry the boats up and down, and then they dumped it. So they took the water out and by dumping stuff there, right? So it was man-made reliction. Meadowlands, they're doing the same thing. They're drying the meadowlands to eventually put more buildings there. Okay, so stuff like that could be man-made, but mainly these are natural causes that we were talking about. Yes. Highlands Water Protection and Planning Act. Okay. As the name says, Highlands Water Protection and Planning Act. So it's again another law, another enactment to protect certain areas of New Jersey. So this law enacted to protect almost 1,250 miles or 800,000 acres of drinking water. And this is known as the Highlands Region. The act also strives to protect 110 acres of agricultural lands, right? And the mountain ridge located in the Highlands region of New Jersey, okay? So the Highlands Water Protection Act. If they ask you, obviously it's to protect drinking water. So I'm sorry. Highlands Protection. Drinking water. If the question pops up, it's for drinking water. The Pinelands Protection Act, this is another one. The Pinelands Protection Act, as it says, is to protect now pineland, right? So this is called Pine Barrens. If you ever heard of Pine Barrens in New Jersey? Okay, so the Pinelands Protection Act was designed to protect the pine oak forests, cedar swamps, and surface and groundwater resources that provide a unique habitat for rare and endangered plant and animal species. Has anybody ever been to Pine Barrens? Robin, the only one? Okay, cool. It's like a different world. It's like you're not in New Jersey. It's like you just went to some type of resort somewhere, and hidden somewhere is this beautiful natural resource. So Pine Barrens, make sure you guys have a chance, go there. I'll make it better. Instead of telling you where it is, I'm going to show it to you. Probably cannot. Um, there's some pictures of it. Okay. No, bad example. There, okay. So could have taken nicer pictures. Okay, so pinelandsadventures.org is a place that you can go to. And again, you have self-guided paddling, so you can do it by yourself, guided hikes. Sucks. I had one that had, I can't remember which site it was, but it had like beautiful pictures. It looked like literally like you're in a different world. Jersey. Okay, so this is part of it in Jersey. Beautiful stuff there. You guys did not notice, huh? It was right here. You're looking at this, right? It was right here. It's almost like spot the difference. All right. Anyway, so they have beautiful stuff. I don't know why they took the worst pictures to put here, but they have beautiful stuff. So just search Pine Barrens. There's different areas of it. I'm really upset because I had a really cool picture. This one. Anyway, so they run around New Jersey. There's different ones, but it's protected. All you need to know is that it's protected. It's nature. You cannot build anything there. I'm just so upset because I know there was a lot of cool pictures. Not that one, definitely not. I'll find them because I have it somewhere on my computer also to go there with my kids. So I'll find them and then I'll share with you guys. Okay. Anyway. Oh. David just shared some stuff. There you go. Ah, there you go. Thank you. So some cool stuff out here. You guys can see it. Trails, ponds. Okay. I'm telling you, it's just like totally different than at least what I'm used to here in my areas. Obviously, a lot of people do professional photography, so they can make anything that looks bad look good, right? But I've heard very good reviews of certain areas, and that's why I do have this as a gotta go place. I mean, some gotta go places. They're different. They're spread throughout. Anyway, and you get some friends too. Look at that. They have a ghost house. Yep, I've heard a lot of good stuff to go to. Ghost house is one of them. Anyway, so they're protected. There's berry farms there. You cannot touch it. They even actually donate a lot of the stuff. You can go pick as many berries as you want, whatever they have, but you cannot destroy it. You cannot damage it. That will be actually a crime. That's what the Pinelands Protection Act did. You have to respect the natural resources and keep it as is. All right. So it became landmarks in New Jersey. Development subdivisions. We already covered this about the New Jersey land sales. We talked about the Planned Real Estate Development Full Disclosure Act. That obviously is for, if you guys remember, planned unit developments, right? We talked about those. So condos, co-ops, subdivided property more than 100 lots, subdivided property with a managing homeowner association, planned unit developments, townhouses, and retirement communities, they all fall into the planned real estate development. It's not like you're building one house, you're planning a whole community, pretty much. So if you guys remember, a developer that wants to offer such properties must file a registration application similar to interstate properties. We talk about it then, interstate properties. So there's a public offering statement, and you must have at least 7 calendar days to rescind or cancel. You guys remember this? Right, when we talked about interstate property, you have 7 calendar days to cancel the contract. Building registrations. In the state of New Jersey, if you want to build something, and we are on page 475 right now in my book. We're talking about building. 459 says Francelli in the first edition, if you have the first edition. We have the Uniform Construction Code. And what the Uniform Construction Code is, pretty much making standards, like we talked about in the land use control before, making certain standards in terms of building, right? Obviously, uniform, right? Construction. Why are these standards here? The standards exist to make sure that you protect the next person, not just yourself, but also the next person. Like the story of the 3 little pigs, right? So in the story of the 3 little pigs, there's a straw house, there's the wood house, and there's the brick house. The brick house is a sturdier structure, so it's safer in case of winds, in case of fires, and all that stuff, right? Compared to the other ones. So now they made it a standard because it doesn't spread as fast as the straw or the wood, right? Here's the same thing. They proposed building standards when it comes to occupancy of the buildings, renovation of the buildings, alterations, or even brand new construction. They created these standards to protect you as the occupants, tenants as the occupants, and even the general public, so the people around you. When there's a brand new construction, there must be a warranty. So these warranties, the manufacturer's warranty, we call it warranty and builder's registration because the manufacturer is the builder, right? And this warranty must go for up to 10 years, right? And the 10-year warranty mainly is for structural issues. we're not guaranteeing everything. I'm not guaranteeing you for 10 years that those windows will survive. I'm not guaranteeing you for 10 years that the air conditioned unit is going to survive. But what I'm guaranteeing you for at least 10 years is that the structure itself will survive. All right, so it's the same thing as a limited warranty on your cars. They're saying, not worry, the wheels will not fall apart. But if they do, while you're driving, if you can make it out of that one, come back to us and we'll fix it for you. Right? That's the limited warranty they give you. Right? Same thing here. If anything fails, then come back to me and I have to repair it. That's the builder's warranty in any brand new construction. Okay. Safety requirements, we just went over this as well. New Jersey requires 1 smoke detector at each level in the dwelling, 1 smoke detector within 10 feet of each bedroom, 1 carbon monoxide detector, 1 fire extinguisher. And this is on 1 to 2 families. And you're probably thinking, wait a minute. 1 to 2 families, what about if it's 3 or more? These are not required if it's 3 or more. Well, 3 or more, they automatically fall into the hotel and motel multiple dwelling and safety law. So every time you have 3 or more units in that building, it falls under hotel and motel multiple dwelling and health and safety law. So now the government has the right to inspect the properties. Now, if it's it doesn't say here, but if it's a 3-4 unit residential, right? Then they can inspect once every 5 years. That's why you need to have something called the green card. And the green card for your building means that you pass the inspection. 3 or more units must have that green card, as well as hotels and other sleeping facilities. But these are inspected once every 3 years. All right, so if it's a hotel or motel, once every 3 years. Holiday Inn. Yep, I could have gone with the flow. There you go. Hotel, motel. There you go. Next one for next class, I'll do that. Not bad. Elena, so single, 2 family. Not both commercial and commercial does not have these requirements. They're totally different. So single and 2 families, they fall into this. And then three units or more fall under hotel and multiple dwelling. This is more for sleeping facilities, right? Why do you need a smoke detector? If you're in the commercial setting, right? If you're in the commercial setting like here, right? Do I need a smoke detector? In a tall building, yes. In the lower building, I mean, it's obvious you're awake, so go ahead, run, right? Or carbon monoxide detector. So the requirements are totally different for commercial than they are for residential. The idea for residential is that most people would be unaware of safety procedures. So as soon as they hear a noise or they they hear that noise, they know, wake up, do something, run. Here we're not going to sleep, hopefully, right? Except if you're Chris, but then you wouldn't be here, you'd be home anyway. So it does not apply to commercial settings. Okay. All right, next we have financing and taxation. We're going to talk about mortgage, finance, taxation. So start with mortgage. As you guys know, the mortgage, I keep on saying that, is not a loan, right? Mortgage is not a loan. The mortgage is the house. The mortgage is the house. You guys remember that? The loan is the promissory note. So the mortgage is pretty much saying, if you don't pay, we're gonna come and get your house, right? If you don't pay, we get your house. So in New Jersey, we have mortgages. We don't have, do you guys remember what the other one was called? New Jersey, we have mortgages. The other states, There are non-judicial states, right? You guys remember? There's the lien method, and then there's the title method. You guys remember what those were called? Anybody? Nobody? Okay, fine. I'll help you. Deed of trust. The deed of trust, similar to mortgages. That was chapter 17. Okay? It was only 13 chapters ago. But anyway, so deed of trust. That's in the title method versus the lien method, right? The lien method is where we put a mortgage as a lien against a house. If you don't pay, we take this document to court. The title method, or the deed of trust, we gave the title to the house to a trustee, just like cars. And that trustee can come and repo your car, meaning they don't need to go to court to take it to auction. They can go straight to auction, right? You guys remember this? Hands up if you remember that. 2 people, 3 people, scratching heads. Okay. All right, so that's chapter 17, when we talked about real estate finance, part 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, interest rates. One other mortgage note provision is the interest rate that will be charged for the loan. The criminal usury limit. So first of all, before I read anything else, criminal usury. What is usury? Usury is charging a high rate of interest knowing that it's impossible for you to pay. So in New Jersey, the usury limit is 30%. Wait, 30% before you get scared. For individual non-corporate borrowers. But New Jersey allows a maximum of 16% for contracts, with several exceptions, such as up to 30% on loans more than $50,000. So let me explain this real quick, what the usury is in New Jersey. So it's not very detailed here. If I'm a institutional lender, so if I'm a bank, lenders, first of all, like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and so on, they have no usury limits, so they can charge whatever they want. All right, that's the first thing. These criminal usury limits, they apply to individuals. So if I lend money to you, so you're borrowing money from me, right? The max that I can charge you is 16% on the first mortgage. Or if I'm the owner, again, it doesn't say here in detail, but if I'm the owner of the property that you're trying to buy, I can charge you up to 30%. That's the other limit here. All right? So don't get scared. The state usury limit, if you're asked at all, is going to be 16%. If you're asked about the usury limit. Most likely, if they ask you anything, is what is usury? And usury, we talked about in finance. Again, it's a criminal charge, meaning it's a high rate of interest that there's no way you can pay. You're being used and abused by the lender that knows you will not be able to pay it back, right? So usury, if there's a question in the state exam regarding that, is going to be high rate of interest, illegal high rate of interest. Remember that. New Jersey, I already talked about this yesterday, and I talked about it in mortgages. In New Jersey, there's no prepayment penalties, regardless of you being FHA, VA, or conventional. Yesterday, when we talked about FHA, VA loans, prepayment-wise, in the transaction, and in mortgages, when we talk about conventional loans, I did say that FHA and VA do not have prepayment penalties. That's across the board, across the whole United States. But conventional loans depend on the state. What is a conventional loan? Well, I'm the lender, you're the borrower, right? I don't need FHA, Federal Housing Administration, to give me guidelines. I have my own guidelines. I don't need the Veterans Affairs or Veterans Administration to give me to give their input on this type of deal. It's my guidelines lending to you. So conventional loans, I could put a prepayment penalty. I could put a prepayment penalty, but in New Jersey, nope, you can't. Another state, they might allow you prepayment. This is for institutional lenders. If I, as an individual, lend money to you, I can charge a prepayment. Institutional lenders, like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and so on, cannot charge prepayment fees. Any questions so far? Okay. Don't forget, if you have questions, put a question mark so I can address it. If anybody watching on YouTube, let me know that you're asking a question as well. The next thing we have is a New Jersey Home Buyers Program. Okay. Make sure you guys get, whoever's yawning, make sure you guys get like coffee or anything that could help you stay awake. I promise it's not going to be that hard. All right, New Jersey Home Buyers Program. So the New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency provides several programs to help consumers buy a home. So let's stop here for a second. You guys remember I talked about HMFA and I talked about NACA, NACA, or financing. I said that there's ways that if you make low income, there's still ways for you to qualify for a mortgage. All right. New Jersey Housing and Mortgage Finance Agency is one of the avenues that you can take to get this type of loan. So this is mainly for low and moderate income. You can apply for it. These programs are available also to buy. Ready? These programs are available to buy your first multifamily, even if you have low or moderate income. Anyway, this is not available for investors, even though you could be a first-time home buyer again. Look what it says for qualifications. Do you guys read it? All right, I see some smiles coming up. Here you go. Yeah, you're a brand new baby after 3 years. Go ahead, apply for it again. You're a first-time home buyer again, if you had not owned a home in the past 3. Okay? Now, who qualifies for this and what programs do they have? So one of the things that they have is that they provide, so a home seeker program within the HMFA, right? They provide you $10,000 towards closing costs. So they help you put money towards your closing costs. A Smart Start program provides up to 4% of a first-time buyer's mortgage amount to be used for down payment or closing costs when buying in a smart growth area. So there are certain areas designated by these programs where they can help you with up to 4% of closing costs and or down payment. Yeah, the rule still applies. Problem. The next one is the Homeward Bound Home Buyer Mortgage. And don't worry, in the state exam, they don't ask you about this stuff. But this provides either $10,000 or 4%. You choose one or the other. That can be used for down payment or closing costs, right? And this is in addition to the previous programs. Did you guys read that? I like this chapter because it goes in this book is way more in detail than it does in the Dearborn version. Dearborn version is like very, very limited. Hey, it's available. Go for it. Here it even tells you the actual programs. So you can qualify for $10,000 plus 4% plus either or another $10,000 or another 4% towards closing costs or down payment. Isn't that cool? Oh wait, there's more. There's more. All right, I'm just waiting for Stephanie M's question, and then I'll release some more info. Actually, hold on. I'll release some more info. So someone with low income can purchase a house, a home, let's say $450,000 or $450,000. In certain areas, it could be a $800,000 home. because I'm going to show you right now what the qualifications are, right? Sorry, cops. Okay. So like I said, wait, there's more, right? Okay, so you can buy a 4-family home. Good luck in finding a 4-family home for $450,000, just like that. I mean, I can get you some. I just got it for a couple people in this past 2 months, but might not be an area that you're interested in. Like, I'm interested in every area that makes money, but not everybody is. Can I use this program to buy those houses? Yes. But look what else we have. Ready? What else do we have? I'm going to read slowly. First-time home buyer and urban target areas, so only for certain designated areas, right? Program provides below market interest rates and down payment rates as low as 3.5%. So, you ready? First thing is, you can buy a 4-family. I already went over that. Second thing is, you can get $10,000 plus 4% towards closing costs or down payment, right? And you can get another 10 or 4% towards closing costs or down payment. And you get below market interest rates, which it doesn't say here, but could even be subsidized to as low as 1%. So how much you need as a down payment? 3.5. Well, we can get up to 4% to cover it. We just went over that, right? And then there's closing costs. Sure, we can get up to $10,000 in closing costs in one of the programs, right? And then, oh, you still need money? Okay, there's another 4% or 10K towards one or the other. Okay, there's a catch. Of course there's a catch. Too good to be. Yes, absolutely. It is. All that good stuff. Yes, it is. See, first of all, these programs are only available to the people that know about these things. Right? Let's start with that. Right? Second, this program is only available to people that are considered low and moderate income. Third, it's only in certain areas. So in the smart growth area or in an urban target area. So only in certain designated areas do you qualify for this type of program. So no, you're not going to buy $1 million house, right? $1 million house, single family with this program, right? So you're going to be in certain areas only. Oh, you want another catch? Sure. So the other catch is, because this is a government-sponsored program and it's about promoting homeownership, right? About promoting homeownership, you also have to go through some type of seminar or training on how to be a homeowner and not default on your mortgage that was pretty much given to you. Not bad, right? And yes, there's another catch. It takes way too long to close. But if I'm coming in with almost no money down, do I care about how long it's going to take to close? No. As a realtor, a lot of people don't get involved with these because of the amount of time it takes to close. As a buyer, how many can I buy? Does that make sense? So these are things you need to remember. So let me go address these questions. And by the way, every municipality has some type of program also that will help you with closing costs or renovation costs. Every township has something. All right. So I addressed the catches, yes. You're buying tomorrow? Let's do it. What does this credit score have to be? Can I tell you a secret? You're low, moderate income, right? If you qualify for this, I'm not saying you. So what do you think most likely your credit score is going to be? Most people that are in the low and moderate income, they struggle with credit as well. So as low as 580, and I've seen in the past as low as 540. Now, am I telling you these programs are available now? There might be, because of what's been happening, some of these programs might have been frozen for now. but it's been available for such a long time, and people do not know, do not take advantage, right? But they're there. Stephanie, as far as Paramus, I'm not sure, but you can check with Paramus and see. Well, you can check with New Jersey Housing and Finance Mortgage Finance Agency. You check with them first if you fit the criteria, like your area, your income, and whatever. If you fit the criteria, but yes, there could be in Paramus. Erica, low income, how low? Low can you go? Okay, how low? It depends on which county you live in. So the low income and moderate income areas are determined by the county levels are determined by the county where you live. See, in certain areas, $50,000, you're very poor, right? In other areas, $30,000, you're very poor. Oh, you got 2 people in your household and that's how much you make? Then yeah, if you're below $75,000 in certain areas, you're very poor with 2 people. Oh, you got children? Yeah. If you make less than $100,000 and you got 1 child or two children, you're very poor, according to the poverty guidelines. So it varies based on where you intend to buy. Yes, yes, and yes. Obviously, there's that one catch as well, right? It's like FHA and like VA. These are government-sponsored programs. They're sponsoring home ownership. It's not available for investors. So yes, you have to live in this property. Who do you go to, or where can you get assistance to find out? So NJHMFA is where you go to. What? Did we talk about estoppel somewhere today? But anyway, so estoppel certificate, just so you know, I was trying to figure out because I'm talking about one thing in left field. Bruno, what's estoppel? So an estoppel certificate is where a bank transfers the loan to another bank and they have to stop the balance on that loan. So they're telling the other bank, hey, this is how much Muslima owes me now. From here on, you can collect on this, and I'm stopped of these rights to collect. So an estoppel certificate pretty much determines the balance on your loan and how much the new lender or creditor can collect from you. All right? It's that one thing that actually protects us against collection companies, and a lot of people don't know. That one thing, it's kind of like a payoff statement, but internal. It's their internal payoff statement that says, this is how much they owe, I'm selling it to you for this value, so that's it. So a lot of collection companies, they buy the... No, I said ask a question, but we're in the middle of a section, like, you know, like I was on the flow. But anyway. So when I was talking about collection companies, it's like they buy the loans or the debt for like 3 to 6 cents on the dollar, right? And then they sell it. They try to collect on you for the full balance, and they give you an amazing 70% discount, or sometimes 50 or 60%, whatever they give you as an offer. That's what it is. Okay. And here we go. $54,000 is the Essex County's what? For single? For single, you're poor if you make less than 54,000. So you're in the poverty guidelines. All right. Yeah. So this is what I was trying to tell you. And then if it's 2 people, it goes up to like 60 something. And if there's a child, 75 or 80 or whatever. So yeah. If you make less than 54,000, and by the way, guys, good news. Over 55% of New Jerseyans are below this. So poor. Right? So did you guys realize I said good news? Did anybody realize? Okay. Did anybody realize why I said good news? Anybody? I mean, it's sad. It's sad that if you're single, you make less than $54,000, you're considered to be in certain poverty guidelines. But because we're not taking the test, no, no, no. That's not what I'm saying, guys. Because if more than half of New Jerseyans qualify for it, it's low-hanging fruit. You can help so many people qualify for this program and purchase houses through this program. It's like it's a never-ending source of or stream of income for you. Specialize in this. I always wish for one or two people out of the whole class to specialize in these programs. 80% of the United States qualify for these type of programs or assistance. 80%. Yeah. Yeah, Elena. It's based on the cost of living. Yeah, it increased so much that, again, if you don't make 105 or something like that, $105,000 as a couple, you are considered to be low moderate income, and you're just living paycheck to paycheck. So imagine those people that as a couple don't make more than $40,000. That's why they need government assistance. Got it? That's why they need the Medicaid. That's why they need food stamps, right? So when people tell me, I hate when people tell me, "Oh, we're feeding all these people. We're paying taxes for all these people." Like, look, they don't make enough, and 70% of the people here in New Jersey, at least 70% of people that are on these programs, they actually need the help. Is it possible that 30% are taking advantage of it? Sure. But 70% actually need it. It's like a supplement to their income. Is it their fault that the cost of living went so high? No, it's not our fault, right? But anyway, so I don't agree with the whole conversation about, oh, they're using food stamps and piling up their cart, and here I am struggling to even put just a bottle of milk on my cart. Apply for the benefits. If you cannot afford that gallon of milk, then obviously you might qualify for the program. Oh, me? I'll never get on food stamps. Well, live poor then, right? So you have to understand, there's no shame in asking for help if you need it. You don't have to live in poverty. Like I said, there's no shame in asking for help. This is a program that can help everybody. Let me show you why. That can help everybody get out of poverty. You guys understand what I said? You guys understand why I focus on this? Help. You don't like the person next to you using the food stamps or EBT and packing their shopping carts? Okay, fine. Get them out of welfare. Help them. Oh, you're on food stamps? Would you like to buy a house? I know there's a program that can help you buy a house and get you the heck out of the welfare, right? Simple. Give them income. That's what it is. If it bothers you so much, and I'm not saying you guys, but it bothers me to have these conversations with certain people. That's all. The programs are there for a reason. Erica. I'm always here to help. Robin, it seems especially now with COVID layoffs, it's important. Yeah, we were talking about this the other day, right? And you mentioned your experience as well. Yeah, I just helped a few people go through their applications. They got laid off, right? They were on this temporary thing, and then all of a sudden it's an actual layoff. That's it, right? So a lot of people could be helped. Erica. So let me address Erica real quick. I'm gonna do this. Ready? When there's soccer, barbecues, and parties involved, it becomes a little tough to pass. Just saying. I can help you pass, but I'm not going to barbecues. I'm not watching games. I would have told Osmani to say, yay, you handle them for the next 5 weeks. Anyway, that's what I tell everybody. You got, and I'm just joking, Erica, obviously, but you got to sacrifice somewhere, right? If you really want this thing to go through, I'm not saying it's going to be now or it's going to be later. Like, everybody has different reasons, and life happens. Okay, Erica knows. I know Erica for several years. Got Vanessa here as well as an example, Muslima. These are a few examples of, hey, got slapped in the face. I was expecting to do this, and life just happened. So we're back at this, and I'm guilty of this too. It happened to me. David, right? Shandi went through the same thing, right? You know, life happens. So she's smart though. Shandi was smart. She's like, hey, I didn't make it. You better get over there. That's what she did. She said, David, you're taking this course, right? And you're going to bring that money home because that's how it's going to happen. But anyway, life happens. Life happens, and I totally understand. If it's now, it's later. But if it's now and if you're serious about this, remove all distractions. That is key. Remove all the, this is on the most serious note that I can tell you ever. Remove all the distractions. All right? It's only for 5 weeks. Right? So it's the 4 weeks of class, right? I know there was a few delays, but it's the 4 week of class and the exam and then the state exam. So let's make a worst case scenario 8 weeks total. 8 weeks total. Once you pass the exam, that's it. There's no more classes. It's just activating your license, which could take a little bit longer, but no more classes. So can you for like 2 months, 8 weeks, can you for 2 months eliminate all the distractions in your life and say, hey, I'm sorry, for that party, I do this all the time. People call me, family members, and I'm like, listen, not this weekend. I have deadlines. Oh, but listen, sorry. Love you, but not this weekend. Simple, right? The only thing I stop for, unfortunately, is health. Other than that, not this weekend. Like, so take serious what your goal is, right? A friend of mine, student of mine, did that also. He told his family that's what he was doing as he was taking his broker's course, right, to get his broker's license. That's what he did, and he just got his license, opened up his business, and one of the things that he posted on Facebook and Instagram was listening to my advice in that sense. He's like, I told everybody to stop calling me for the next couple of weeks as I'm doing this, right? And if people love you, if they really like you and love you, right, they'll understand. They'll be there, right? Simple. Nurka, what about kids? Well, nowadays we have something called cages. You know, they're bigger, and you can just, you know, put them there. You know. Francielli says that's the reason I hate online class. It's a lot of distractions at home. Like I said, if you don't put them in the cage, put yourself in the cage. Like, go find a spot that nobody can bother you. Okay. Next, or give them tablets. That's it. Yes, give them tablets. As much as I hate it, when it's that moment that you need to focus, give the kids tablets. Chocolate tablets. That's what I meant. Chocolate. All right, Nurka, can you repeat where we can get assistance for the programs? So it's called the NJ. If you guys Google NJ, sorry, not this one. NJHMFA. Okay. If you Google this, or there's another program which is nationwide. NACA, very similar, same concept of helping people that are low and moderate income achieve home ownership. Okay? And look, there's more millionaires and billionaires because of real estate than any other investment. Okay? So, can you help somebody get to that stage? I'm not going to say, not saying that you're going to make them millionaires or billionaires, but can you get somebody to get to a better place in life? Yeah. Promote real estate. Simple. a 4-family could replace somebody's income, right? So meaning that if they lose their job or if they're struggling with their job, right, or what amount of money they make, right, there's still some people making less than $10 an hour in New Jersey. Like, it's impossible in New Jersey. I don't know how people can survive on that, right? There's a lot of struggle there, right? So help them, right? If you're fortunate enough to have a better option, help them. That's all I'm trying to say. All right, so back to the class. Sorry, I always try to promote these programs. I'm all about helping people, and the programs are there. Get to know the programs, get to help people. You'll make money beyond imagination, right? You're expecting to make $100,000 this year, you'll make 2 or 3, right? Help others. That's key. If you can, help others. That's key. All right, taxation. In New Jersey, taxation. We're almost done with this chapter. New Jersey has something called the Farmland Assessment Act. We already talked about religious purposes, non-for-profit and all that. They completely no taxes. Veterans don't pay tax. Certain veterans don't pay taxes. People that are seniors, they might not have to pay as much taxes. So there's a lot of tax advantages nationwide. New Jersey also follows those rules and implements also what's called the Farmland Assessment Act. Now, only property used as farmland is covered under the act. But does that mean, let me give you another hint. Does that mean that you cannot own a farmland through the program that I just showed you before? Okay. Let me tell you what farmland does. It reduces the taxes for up to 55% of the tax bill. So let's say it's 50%. If you had $10,000 to pay, you're going to pay 5, right? Let's say it's just there, right? And you're like, Bruno, but I'm not a farmer. It's okay. No problem. First of all it says is that the person applying for the assessment must own the land, right? And apply before August 1st each year. I must own the land. But then look what it says next. The owner must have dedicated the farmland to agricultural or horticultural uses, including livestock, right? For 2 years prior to applying for the assessment. Now, if you guys read properly, it says I must have dedicated that space for farmland. It doesn't say I have to be the farmer. My neighbor is a farmer, as an example. Can I provide him land and say, hey, you're farming over there, come farm over here. Boom, and your land already pre-qualifies for the farmland assessment. Now, there must be at least 5 adjoining acres, not including the farmhouse land or actually even the property that you're going to live in. Okay? So not including, actually it's not the farmhouse land, it's the living space, the living area, right? So does my dog... I don't think your dog counts as livestock. I don't know what you intend to do with your dog after, but all right. Should I call some type of company out there to come check on the dog? Right? Livestock. Anyway, so what it's saying is you got to have 5 acres, right? 5 acres, and these are exclusive of home site. And that's where, so this is 5+ acres. This is where the farmhouse is. This is where you live. This is where the pool is. This is the driveway, whatever. So all we're saying is that this space, excluded from this space, must be at least 5+ acres to qualify as farmland. Okay? And again, it must be used as farmland. Okay? Next, this changed recently. You must produce an average of $1,000 annually. It used to be $500, but $1,000 annually for the first 5 acres. That's it. So whatever you're farming over there, or your neighbor's farming, must bring you at least $1,000 in gross income. Okay, and the land must continue to be used for that purpose until the end of that tax year. So imagine you buy a house. Oh, by the way, there's another loan program. There's another loan program that's it's from the RECD, the Rural Economic Development Agency, and program. Sorry, and that program, the government lends to you directly for having a farm, and can also be subsidized to as low as 1%. So interest rate for the lifetime of the loan. So imagine having, let's go back to this awful drawing. Imagine having this. This right here is dropping up to 55% of your tax, right? And you only pay 1%, I'm sorry, for 30 years, right? At 1% interest rate. Oh, with low or no down payment as well. Just saying. All right, so there's a lot of programs out there. That's what I keep on trying to tell you guys. You got to get creative, take advantage of them, and that's it. Is this only in New Jersey? I can guarantee you that almost every state has a rule very similar to this, because farmland is protected, right? Agricultural is protected. In some other states, it might be even better than New Jersey. In the RECD, it's not a New Jersey thing. The RECD is federal, so they are the only government entity that lends directly to homeowners. Okay, everything else, so FHA, VA, and all that, they're from the bank too. Even the NJHMFA, they do have some programs where they lend directly, but NJHMFA and NACA, they sponsor the bank, Wells Fargo, or sponsored by the bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citibank. These are the major players in these programs, so you get the loan from them, right? So they just joined forces for home ownership. What's the other advantage for the bank besides lending through these programs? You know, tax write-offs, right? So they need to lose money, and that's how they say, because of course there's always a catch, right? They're not just going to give you all these benefits for nothing. They're going to say, well, government, if you're bringing my interest rate down to 1%, if the down payment's coming down to this, I got to get compensated somehow. And government says, sure, treat it as a loss. Here's some additional grants or incentives, and then do your taxes. That's it. So they treated it almost like a donation in part and loss in another. All right, next. Taxation process. So in the state of New Jersey, all property except for farmland and woodland is assessed using the same standard of value, the true value or market value, as of October 1st prior to the tax year. Now, if you guys remember, we talked about taxes, and I said your taxes within the municipality, they're exactly the same across the board. What varies is the value of the house, and that's why your tax bill might be a little higher than your neighbors. Remember that? Great. So when do they assess the value of your house? So as of October 1st of the prior tax year, they determine the value, and they can make changes until January 10th. Okay? Once the property has been assessed, the amount of taxes to be collected is based on the county, municipal, and school budgets. We talked about this already. The general tax rate is figured by dividing the total budget needed by the total assessed value of all properties. If you guys remember, we call this the assessment base. That's what we had, but I also called it assessment roll, which is the term we actually use here in New Jersey. Okay, assessment roll, not the assessment base. And that's all the properties that are taxable within the municipality. The value of all these properties is called assessment base or assessment roll. What chapter is this from? Chapter 19. Okay. Now, appealing the assessed value. Appealing assessed value. So if you're not happy with the amount of taxes you're paying, we already covered this as well in chapter 19 in the taxation. If you're not happy, you can always appeal. You can always cry about it. You can always go there and say, hey, my neighbor, right? Remember, we even showed a few tax cards here, right? So, should you appeal? Depends. Make sure you have solid data to present for the appeal. But when can you appeal, or how can you appeal? The appeal process starts on January 10th, okay? They didn't include it here. So it starts on, it's between January 10th until April 1st. Okay, the appeal process is from January 10th to April 1st. Okay? So you appeal in the first quarter, but they only have to make a decision by the last quarter. So they have until November 10th to make a decision. And what is that decision based on? Is it based on 2020? No, it's based on the taxes for 2021. So if you wanted to appeal, so now it's actually the season is over. So let's say come January 10th, you're going to appeal 2022. No longer the 2020 or 2021 taxes. The appeal window is for you to appeal next year's taxes. Was that a question or just a statement? Yeah. I don't know. But we did talk about a few things, but it's understandable. It's a lot of information. If you don't review it, if you haven't been reviewing it, it's going to be also a problem. Okay? Make sure you guys review this stuff. If you're not happy with the decision from the board, you can also bring it to Supreme Court within 45 days. See, that's the thing. How do they assess taxes every year with so many properties? Every municipality has a different way of doing it. Some say at transfer, so at sale, that's the new value. Okay? Others created an assessment that can rise a certain percentage the next year, and so on. Right? Others say that property in the area is assessed at 60% of market value. So if property sold for $100,000, they say for tax purposes it's $60,000. Now, because of your question right now, how do they assess so many properties, right? Because of your question right now, one of the things that they do is sometimes they bring an outside appraisal firm to bring everybody to current assessment, so current value. Okay, does that happen every time? No. In a high turnover town like Newark, for instance, it just doesn't happen, right? Because there's a high turnover. But in towns where there's a sporadic sale here and there, it's going to be like some people live in the same property, like the family's been living there for 20 years, right? So the sale never happened, generation to generation, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. So can we change the value of the property like that? No. So they bring outside appraisal firms to see, okay, you've been paying $2,000 worth of taxes for the past 30 years, right? It increased slowly, but for the past 30 years. It's time to bring you up to speed. Your property is now worth X amount of dollars, so instead of $2,000, you got to pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, whatever it is, okay? So that's when they bring the outside appraisal firm, okay? Tax liens, guys, we went over all this as well. Tax liens a lien is an unpaid bill. In this case, it's a tax bill that's not paid and it goes against your property. Liens are against the property, right? Now, you guys already know this. Doesn't matter how many liens the property has. Tax liens always take priority over every other lien. So in the event of foreclosure, who gets paid first? Taxes. Okay, who gets paid second? Whoever recorded first after taxes, right? Because taxes don't need to be recorded. So after taxes get paid, whoever recorded first has priority. Okay. If you fail to pay, they will sell your taxes. And if somebody buys the taxes, they can take over your property. We talked about this also in taxation. Tax lien exemptions, as I mentioned earlier, who's exempt from taxes? Religious, charitable, or not-for-profit organizations are totally exempt from paying property taxes. Certain, not all, totally and permanently disabled war veterans or their surviving spouses are also exempt of property taxes. Some war veterans or surviving spouses that do not meet the qualifications of the total exemption, they get a whopping $250 a year deduction on your taxes. So don't worry, your $15,000 taxes next year are only going to be $14,750. Thank you for your service. Right? Next, congratulations on becoming a senior. You get to retire, and we get to take off $250 from your yearly taxes as well. Right? We appreciate all your hard work and maintaining the properties in this town, right? Making it a great community. Thank you so much. Here's $250 off, right? That's it. Yes, I'm very sarcastic. I'm sorry. A trait that doesn't seem to dilute over the years. It's worse. Fabiola, what a shame that I'm sarcastic, or what a shame the $250. Verona, yep, that's it. Oh, and if you're disabled, it's the same thing. So you can pick one. You can either become 65 or, pick a disability and you get $250 off. That's it. Anyway. Oh, there's another thing. I love this one. In New Jersey, we have a great program. If you're 65 or older, we have a senior freeze program. We put you in the fridge. All right? Now, what's a senior freeze program? A senior freeze program, of course, I'm joking about the fridge, but unless you want to go Walt Disney, but the senior freeze program is every year you pay your taxes, and you have to, if you want your money, okay, they can't increase your taxes. Let me explain better. Your taxes are $10,000 when you reach the age at 65, right? If the taxes increase to $12,000 when you're at the age of 67, all you have to do, that's it. All you have to do, listen to me. Very easy. All you have to do is pay the $12,000, right? You pay the $12,000, but then by October 1st, you must apply for a reimbursement. So give me back $2,000. You cannot increase my taxes. That's a cool thing, right? It's a great thing. The thing is, if you never applied for this, it's not retroactive. And if you forget to apply for this every single year and remind the state every single year that you're still 65 or older, right? They do not give you any money. So every single year, the senior freeze program is for a reimbursement of tax increases. Just make sure you put an alarm, remind you every single year to apply for it. Yes, state of New Jersey, I'm still 65 or older. Yep. Give me back my money. Not bad, right? And now they don't give you back money anymore. What they do is they credit towards whatever your taxes are, like your 1040 at the end of the year. Gets better, doesn't it? Gotta love it. All right. Rebates are also available for residents who pay property taxes and for residents and renters with low income. So there's advantages for people with low income. Tax sales, the same thing as we already talked about that in taxation, chapter 19. If you fail to pay your taxes, they'll go into a tax foreclosure. So they sell your tax voucher, your tax bill. If somebody buys a tax voucher or tax bill, they have 2 years. You have 2 years to pay them, or they will take over your house. So you could lose your house in as quick as 2 years. Okay? Because you did not pay your taxes. You guys remember this stuff? Okay, cool. Timeshare Act. Look, we're just gonna go over this real quick because there's really no questions, not many questions about timeshares. But you guys already know what a timeshare is, right? Is the sharing of time in a particular in the ownership of a particular building or the rental of a particular building. So they give you a particular week or 2 weeks or whatever it is that's determined in that timeshare for you to occupy a unit somewhere. Okay. What they need to tell you also is in the prospectus of the company and the timeshare, they need to tell you that this is a yearly contract and there's monthly expenses to that yearly contract. Even though you're there for 1 week, you still got to share the expenses of the whole year, whether you go or not. Okay, so remember that. Timeshare plans must be registered just like plan unit developments, just like interstate property, and you must be given at least 7 days to cancel the contract. Okay, 7 days to cancel the contract. Same as interstate sales and plan unit developments. Okay, that was very quick, very brief. Manufactured homes or mobile homes, they fall under motor vehicles as well. So that's why I'm skipping, because there's no question on this. But they fall under motor vehicles as well. So you need to know both the real estate law and motor vehicles law in order to sell these types of properties. Okay? Any questions? Don't ask me to repeat everything all over again, okay? I'm not resetting this chapter. A lot of this stuff you guys already knew, right? A lot of this stuff is from the previous chapters, so it's a review. Questions? Stephanie is hitting the keyboard. All right, cool. Got a question. Question regarding chapter 30. Is there a class tomorrow? We're about to find out. Let's do the math chapter and then we'll see. Does that help you? All right, guys, if there's no questions regarding this chapter, we're going to go into a quick break. It's now 7:51, so 8 o'clock, we're back. And we're going to have a whopping hour and a half with math. Okay? We'll be right back.